What is up, everybody? How are you? Hope you're okay. Let's look at how I'm setting custom badge icons then. That's why you're here. So as you can see here, we've got a little unhappy emoji. I've discovered that you can set about 6 characters or so. And let's get into how we're doing this. So let's go back. What do we know? We know we can show a badge of a string. So if you request notification authorization with the badge parameter, you can present a badge. And you can do this by saying UN notification, a UN user notification center, current dot set badge count. That takes in a value of an integer, but you can set it to say 50,000. Let's run that in the simulator and see what happens. Okay, so it's launched the application now. We're just going to wait for it to finish launching and let it do all its processes. But in theory, this is just going to set the number. I've set the number quite high so that we end up with a high count. Oh, it's not finished loading. So as you can see, it's put in a very large number, right? But the key point that I would like to point out is the comma. They're doing some formatting of this so that it is just a string. We can only enter a number, but it is a string. So what I decided to do was I did a bit of a deep dive into how that function works. So if we do a lookup on that function, so if we jump into the function, it's set badge count that throws, or it could be a set badge count with a completion handler. So they're both available to us. So it actually happens to look something like this. So if we, in the debugger, stop the debugging and go for an image lookup, so we do image lookup VN, followed by the string you want to look up. Put a space there, we didn't mean to do that, there's a space there as well. There we go, it's looked up the string in the binary. So as you can see here, the UN user notification center set badge count exists within the user notification framework. That would make sense. That would be where you'd expect it, within the user notification framework, because that's what you import. You import notification center when you have to use it. So what I've done is I've gone into Hopper. I'm in Hopper, which is a decompiler, so it does the inverse of compiling it. So it allows us to get a bit of an understanding of the raw code and what functions and stuff are there in the framework. So I've already selected the DLL shared cache by going to open and finding the shared cache where the framework exists on iOS. And you can see there's this UN user notification center framework for set badge count, which takes in 2 arguments, and it actually calls this root function set badge count on R2, with R2 being passed in, which is the integer. However, if you type in UN user notification center set badge, as you can see here, 3 options appear: set badge count, set badge number, and set badge string. That's what we want. So this function, let's have a look at this function. It's for the bundle identifier, which is clearly the application bundle, calling the completion. So we know that this exists on the UN user notification center. Okay, that's pretty simple. So how do we access it? Well, it's quite an easy way, because the framework exists and it's inside a framework that we have access to. The function exists, sorry, and it's inside a framework we have access to. We can just add it in a Objective-C header, bridging header. So if you come back to the application, in my header, so if you go to plus and then you add from template and you add a header file, the first time you do that, it'll probably tell you to create a bridging header. In my bridging header, I've just extended the interface UN user notification center with a private framework. This private framework is you can call this whatever you like, but I've just called it private because I'm extending what is known about the interface. How I got this signature, you need to input what is the function's signature. So what I would suggest you do is you jump over to apple.com. So I jumped over to apple.com and found the set badge count function, because we know about this badge count function and that it takes an integer. The likelihood is it's the same for the string. It just takes in a string. So if you jump over here to the Objective-C version, which is what we need, and copy that, and then paste that in here, everywhere where the word count is, I've changed with the word string. That way you've got a signature that should hopefully be valid. And it is. Turns out it is. You also need to make sure you import the user notification center so you know what framework it's within. And then back in your main code, wherever you're putting it, we're going to be calling the async function. So I had to wrap it in a task, but that's just because I'm calling the async function. The UN notification current set badge string, and if you jump into the definition, it knows it's defined here. And this can take any string. I've just given it an emoji. I think there's a limit of about 6 or so characters. It depends on the size of the characters, so we're going to run this and see what happens. Right, so the application is now installed and is about to start running. We've got it here. Hopefully it's ran. You can see that it's actually only showing me 2 of the emojis. That's because they're quite large, but you get the idea here. You can set text. You need to work out what text can be set, but I hope you found this one interesting. I'm in the middle of hacking my Mercedes car, so if you've got all this far, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.